This is Drew Page, and in this video, we are going to break down Season 2, Episode 6 of Undercover Billionaire featuring Grant Cardone. Let's go.
They're going undercover in cities they've never been to with only $100, a cell phone with no contacts, and an old truck. All they'll have are the business principles they use to become successful. At the end of 90 days, all three businesses will be independently evaluated.
If it's a penny short of $1 million, I'll put in $1 million.
You know the drill. Each of these entrepreneurs have 90 days to turn $100 into a $1 million business with nothing but a contactless cell phone and an old pickup truck. If you haven't been caught up with all of the analysis from the shows, you can click on my Undercover Billionaire playlist link in the description below. While you're at it, if you would please subscribe to my channel and like this video to help with the algorithm. And if you really want to help me out, you can get a copy of my book, The Right Defense for a Traffic Offense in Virginia, by clicking on the Amazon link in the description below. Alright, enough of the advertising. Let's get down to business. Grant has had a tough couple of weeks on Undercover Billionaire. Nothing really solid. He's been able to keep the $10,000 investment that Matt Smith made into their future businesses. They kind of have some ideas about what they want those businesses to be, whether it's real estate and marketing or several other things. They've kind of nailed down what they want to do, but they haven't gotten the business going. So let's see if this episode produces any forward motion for Grant in his Undercover Billionaire Challenge.
Big real estate is not just for billionaires. If you can find the right project in the right location and then put together a group of investors, you could get a piece of the action without putting up a dime.
Right before that clip, Grant has kind of summarized what they are looking for. They are trying to start a marketing company, and they're trying to purchase the Kona Kaya, which is a big apartment building. And after that summation, he gives us a principle, although not an official Undercover Billionaire principle, but one that I think we all should pay attention to. He says that real estate is not just for the big money investors. If you can build a team together of investors and pile the money together as a group, you can get more than what you would be able to get by yourself. Now, I have to admit, I was surprised he didn't make a plug for Cardone Capital. There must be some sort of thing in his producer contract or some sort of agreement with Discovery, because ordinarily he says, you don't have the money to do that. You need to invest in Cardone Capital, and that'll be a better vehicle for you to get the same benefit without you having to do that. But that is the way he has made his money, is by pulling together resources and investors. And if you want to get in real estate and you don't have money to do so, don't feel like you're left out. You just have to have the idea that Grant did and that he shares with us, that you need to find your investors to gather around you and make a joint partnership or company or whatever way you want to structure it so that you can purchase investment real estate. Let's see what else he has.
An apartment building has all the basic premises of a great business. It's got income, it's got built-in customers, it's got appreciation, it's got tax write-offs. If I can raise the rents by $200 a unit, which is not a lot, 154 units, that would be $369,000 of new income on a property.
Everything he just said about investing in an apartment, he has already laid out in his book, How to Create Wealth Investing in Real Estate. And these are all true principles to investing in commercial properties. Grant unloads a plethora of benefits for owning apartment real estate. Rental income, being able to raise rents, being able to depreciate, having the asset itself. I mean, the tax benefits. There are numerous benefits to owning apartment complexes. Therefore, it is imperative that we look for those types of deals and see what we can do to add them as part of our investment strategy.
And I'm putting in writing that I'm gonna buy a $10 million building. LOI stands for letter of intent. It expresses intent to buy a property and proposes a purchase price, the terms, and a closing date. I'm gonna write the deal for $8.75 million.
Grant writes a letter of intent for $8.75 million to purchase the Kona Kaya. And he explains what a letter of intent is. It expresses an intention to purchase for a certain amount of money, specifies terms, times, and all that. But don't confuse that with an actual real estate sales agreement or a real estate contract. You're not requesting to bind the seller to this. You are simply sending an intention to purchase. Don't confuse a letter of intent with a contract to purchase a property. A contract would need to be signed by all parties. Make sure that you find a lawyer and that you get an attorney to help you out with these things. And but a letter of intent, there's nothing binding about it. You're just letting them know that you are intending to make an offer to purchase on the property.
Asking price on the apartment building is $10 million. I'll need to submit a deposit of 2% of the agreed upon purchase price. So I'm going to need to raise $200,000 from investors to prepare for that.
Grant lays down what will happen in the event that the owner chooses to follow through with an agreement with Grant on the purchase of the Kona Kaya. He would need to raise 2%, which is, he says, is $200,000. And that would be essentially like an earnest money deposit in a residential real estate transaction. So it would be that down payment deposit that he would need to raise in order to effectuate an actual sales contract. And so whenever you are entering into agreements, make sure that you have either some funds yourself or you'll need to raise some funds in order to create that binding real estate agreement. That's generally how things are done. Now, there may be some sort of owner financing and other ways of getting things done that don't necessarily require you to give a deposit. But in the majority of these transactions, you're required to have some sort of down payment on the property. So make sure you keep that in mind when you are entering into these negotiations.
I told Matt I wanted to get 10 to 20 local businesses that would hire us. And that means it's time for some good old-fashioned cold calling. People don't like to do it, everybody hates it, but do what they won't do and you'll own the space.
He's right about that. Nobody enjoys cold calling. Just dialing up, trying to sell something to somebody you don't know. There are few things harder in the world than actually selling to someone who you have no credibility with. I mean, it's easy to sell to people that know you, because if they know you and you've been a credible, trustworthy person, they're going to believe in the product that you're selling. But if they don't know who you are, you have to, in a short period of time, convince them that you are a credible individual and that what you are selling is something that they can buy into and trust that is going to meet the needs that they are trying to meet with the money that they're giving you. But at the same time, it is imperative for you to do whatever you have to do to keep the doors open. And if nobody knows you, then you have to, as the old commercial used to say, reach out and touch someone. You got to reach out on the phone and call until you get somebody who's willing to give you their money for your service or product. It may not be cool, it may not be fun, it may not be easy, but it's absolutely necessary. Let's see a couple of his examples of cold calls.
Okay.
Please leave your message.
Hey, this message is for Mike. This is Lewis Curtis. Heard you're doing an awesome job over there. If you can give me a call back, I'd really appreciate it. Thanks. Building contacts again. See, this is the slow going part.
All right, so Grant left a voicemail to Mike, and he doesn't say that there is a problem to be solved. Or in fact, he compliments Mike and says, hey, I hear things are going great, and I'd just like you to give me a call. So I'd be interested in hearing him explain a strategy, because a lot of times when we're making sales, we try to solve a problem for a potential client. And I know it's a voicemail, not a phone call, but I would be curious as to some more instruction on why he just left that message with such positivity as opposed to creating urgency in getting a phone call back. By the way, if you're wondering what that noise in the background is, it's these two crazy dogs. The only times that they move around and rattle the cage are when I'm actually recording segments. You notice how softly and peacefully they are now resting. The poodle is River, and the golden retriever is Rosie. Say hi, guys. Rosie, River, say hi. Look at their evil eyes with the lights in their faces. Very scary.
Oh my God. This is Lewis Curtis. My name's Lewis Curtis. Hey, my name is Lewis Curtis.
Hi.
Lucas, who's...
Please leave a message after the tone.
That has to be frustrating. Voicemail after voicemail after voicemail. You're trying to work yourself up to make a sale, to pitch to a potential customer, and you just keep getting voicemail blocked. But that's part of the job. You're going to get blocked off and blocked off and blocked off, but you got to keep working, you got to keep trying, and you got to hang in there.
I always say go big or go bigger. This is how you win at the money game. My challenge is to build $1 million business. Signed 35 customers. Notice I went from 10 to 20 to now I'm at 35 because I'm getting worried. So I got to keep expanding my think to compensate for my fear.
The first official principle that we get from Grant is go big or go bigger. That's one of his principles from the 10X rule. The idea is that if you set your goals too low, you're not really motivating yourself or pushing yourself. The more you're afraid, the bigger you should set your goal. That way it motivates you and forces you to try to achieve this, so that if your initial goal was here, at minimum you reach it, but more likely you surpass it. And it keeps you from falling into a fog of fear.
Active Armor, Diana Hall.
Hey Diana, my name's Lewis Curtis. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if it's successful yet. I'm just hitting break-even point right now after 5 years.
So look, I'm starting a Pueblo promotions company here in town. I'd like to come by and introduce myself and just meet you. I'm trying to make contacts with the Pueblo businesses.
Yeah, sure. Yep, just let me know what time and I'll make sure I'm there.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Finally, after all of his phone calls, he has a prospect. And immediately he says that he wants to meet. And if you haven't seen from the episode 5 analysis that I did regarding Monique Idlett, check that out, because she also recognized the importance of having to meet in person versus trying to do everything virtually. She tried to do a virtual pitch and she got one investor out of it. It was a complete disaster. And she recognized the importance of meeting in person. And Grant, of course, already recognizes that, hasn't even suggested a Zoom meeting, I don't think, with anybody. He immediately wants to go meet this person. So when you have a prospect, set the meeting, get the appointment, and go make your pitch.
Look, sales is a contact sport. It's all about getting in front of the right number of people and scaling how many people you can present your product, offer, or service to. Big companies make lots of contacts, make more contacts, and maybe they'll become contracts.
Sales is a contact sport. That's a principle that Grant gives us here that, frankly, he has already given us numerous times. He ends this principle with turning contacts into contracts. You're going to start to see this as the show develops. I don't know if the producers are being lazy or if the investors are running out of ideas to share, or what the situation is, but the principles get weaker and weaker as the season goes on. There are opportunities where they could actually be stronger, but for whatever reason, they seem to get weaker and weaker as the season goes on. So sales is a contact sport. We know that. Turn contacts into contracts. We know that. So this isn't anything new that we've gotten at this point.
Active Armor is an international company based in Pueblo with an incredible product, customized 3D printed casts and masks. What do these sell for?
The mask itself?
Yeah.
$95.
So if I came to you today and said for $5,000 a month, 60 grand a year, I could double your sales, do all your marketing and social, what would you say?
I have spent $0 on marketing.
How do you scale this?
I don't want to scale it. I don't want to bring in
You don't
here
want to
mass
because
manufacturing.
this is your passion, or?
Yeah, it's not my gig.
For those who may be wondering about the wardrobe change, I had to take the 2 dogs out for a walk. They were getting a little antsy. But anyway, Grant tries to make this contact with a 3D printing company that makes masks and casts. And he tries to sell her on his marketing plan. But unfortunately, she is not a good contact because she is not interested in scaling her business. Later in the episode, she would envision licensing the product to some other manufacturer and essentially just get a licensing fee and let somebody else scale it. But she wasn't interested in scaling it herself. This was a personal passion for her to help children, and that's how this business developed. And she already has all the work she wants with several hospitals. So Grant struck out with this as a potential client. So make sure that when you're trying to fill out whether a person is a potential customer or client. Once you start to discover that they're not looking to scale, or that your service or product is not something to sell to them, they're not the right customer for you, then go ahead and make your exit respectfully as quickly as you can, so you can start making your next contact.
My wife and daughter are at a church retreat, so I'm missing that. My other daughter's hanging out on a yacht. I'm missing that. My plan the whole time has been to bring my family out here. As badly as I want them with me right now, I cannot have them come because it'll just be a distraction.
Honestly, I found this last segment pretty confusing. One of his initial goals was that he wanted to bring his family out there with him because he could not do this without his family. If you don't remember that, go back and check out episode 1 that I did analyzing Undercover Billionaire featuring Grant Cardone, where he says multiple times, I got to get my family out here. I've got to get my family out here. But now he's saying that he needs to be able to focus solely on Matt's business and being able to give himself fully to the project, and that his family would be a distraction. So that seems completely contradictory to what he was saying at the beginning of the show. I thought they would be there to motivate him, or that he needed them there. And maybe that's the reason why he struck out so many times so far, is because he hasn't had them there. Or, maybe he was just, doing a little bit of wishful thinking. He was trying to think of something cool and outside the box that none of the other Undercover Billionaire contestants had thought of in bringing their family with them. And, it wasn't really something he had to do in order to succeed. I don't know. I would be curious to hear from him about this change in mindset regarding his family, because initially he says, I have to have them there. Now he says they'd be a distraction. So I'd be curious to ask him about the shift from his initial goals there. At any rate, he ends this episode in a pretty somber mood, not understanding why he's here and all this. I think he's being a little bit dramatic. Clearly he's interested in getting into the acting sphere, and is doing a pretty good job at being a little bit over dramatic. But I look forward to seeing what he does in the next episode. Again, I'm Drew Page. You can reach me in my Suffolk, Virginia office at 757-935-9065. You can visit my website at www.randallpagelaw.com, or you can email me, drewpage@randallpagelaw.com. You can get caught up on all of my Undercover Billionaire analysis by clicking on the Undercover Billionaire playlist in the description below. You can also get a copy of my book, The Right Defense for a Traffic Offense in Virginia, by clicking on the Amazon link. Please follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and on my Facebook business page. And until the next episode, stay tuned.